Hi everyone, Kelt here, bringing you my thoughts on the British royal family and Meghan and Harry. And today I'm going to be talking about Meghan's very latest and very first podcast interview. In the grand theatre of Meghan Markle's carefully curated public persona, her first ever podcast interview on April the 28th, 2025, with Jamie Kern-Lima on the Jamie Kern-Lima Show, was less a debut and more a calculated encore in her ongoing performance as the Duchess of Relatable Authenticity. The event, heralded as a raw, unfiltered glimpse into Meghan's soul, promised vulnerability but delivered a masterclass in strategic self-presentation, complete with tearful moments, subtle royal shade, and a wardrobe choice that screamed, "I'm just like you, but with better lighting." Let's peel back the layers of this meticulously staged spectacle, shall we? Meghan, at allegedly 43, though we know or believe she's much older, chose the podcast of her friend Jamie Kern-Lima, the IT Cosmetics co-founder, for her inaugural guest appearance. The decision was no accident. Lima, a billionaire with a knack for selling empowerment alongside mascara, provided a safe, fawning space for Meghan to unfurl her narrative. The promotional clip, shared on Instagram, showed the duo in matching black sweats and sneakers, makeup-free, or rather Jamie was appearing to be makeup-free, although most of us could see that she did wear makeup. And this was as if to say, "Behold, we are but humble women, unadorned, sharing truths." The optics were deliberate, a rejection of royal pomp for a cosy, Oprah-adjacent vibe, yet the absence of makeup only amplified the spotlight on Meghan's emotional choreography. The interview itself was a tapestry of predictable beats. Meghan gushed about her forever marriage to Prince Harry, calling him a fox, believe it or not, a term that feels like it was focus grouped for maximum charm. She shed tears. Well, we didn't see any tears. She shed tears over a secret letter from Harry and another from her children. And she read these out loud, ensuring the audience felt the weight of her maternal devotion. But we never saw any tears, did we? She spoke of creating email addresses for her children as a time capsule for when they turn 18, a gesture that sounds sweet until you realise it's also a perfect anecdote for public consumption. And of course, there was the requisite nod to her mental health struggles during her royal days, with a thinly veiled jab at the palace for denying her help because it wasn't good optics. So, let's not mince words. Meghan's podcast appearance was less about confession and more about settling scores while promoting her empire. The subtle dig at the royal family, as noted by The Independent and The Mirror, was anything but subtle. Her remark about being tired of having to prove herself was a clear swipe at the institution she and Harry fled, implying that the royals' refusal to accommodate her needs was not just personal, but systemic. This narrative of victimhood, polished to a sheen, dovetails neatly with her recent Netflix show With Love Meghan, where she made similar veiled criticisms. It's a pattern. Every platform is an opportunity to rehash grievances while positioning herself as the resilient underdog. Then there's the branding. Meghan's lifestyle venture, as ever, and her new podcast series, Confessions of a Female Founder, were woven into the conversation with surgical precision. She mentioned the sold-out raspberry spread and herbal tea conveniently ignoring the scathing reviews of her Netflix series. The interview also served as a soft launch for her next chapter, with Lima teasing questions about whether Meghan uses Markle as her last name or plans to run for office. Queries designed to keep her relevant in the American culture. The emotional crescendos, Meghan bursting into tears over Harry's letter and her children's words, were the talk of the tabloids. GB News and the Daily Mail described her as breaking down, framing it as a moment of raw vulnerability. But I'm always sceptical about this, as many of you are. Meghan, as we know, a former actress with a keen sense of narrative arcs, knows the power of a well-timed sob. These tears, while possibly genuine, though I doubt it because I just didn't see any tears. She didn't even have any Vaseline in her pocket to smear across her eye, as she did at the Queen's funeral. These were engineered to elicit sympathy and humanise a woman often criticised as calculating. The secret letter from Harry, handed to her mid-interview, feels like a scripted plot device straight out of a rom-com. And the children's letter, that was a heartstring tugging prop that conveniently reinforces her image as a devoted mother. So obvious. The reaction on X was swift and merciless, painting a picture of a public deeply divided but increasingly sceptical of Meghan's ploys. The account at Unremarkable, a vocal critic, led the charge with a series of scathing posts. One described the interview as a 16-minute snooze fest, accusing Meghan of being insufferable and urging followers to read the hilarious comments tearing her apart. Another post mocked the word salad of buzzwords like divinely ordered and carve out, calling out the mutual ass-kicking between Meghan and Lima. The voices of both women were lambasted, with Lima's described as so grating it made listeners want to jam sticks in their ears. These sentiments weren't isolated. Users on X highlighted Meghan's breathy vocal fry and the nauseating sycophancy of Lima's questions, accusing the interview of lacking substance. The makeup-free, trainer-clad aesthetic was ridiculed as cheesy, a transparent attempt to seem down to earth while still commanding a global stage. Even her appearance at Time 100 Summit days earlier was dragged, with at Unremarkable noting her heavy bronzer and lack of a coherent point. The consensus? Meghan talks a lot but says nothing. A sentiment echoed in comments calling her podcast an echo chamber of self-aggrandizement. The mainstream media offered a slightly more tempered take, though the subtext was clear. The Independent and the Mirror focused on the royal dig, framing it as a continuation of Meghan's narrative of being wronged by the monarchy. The Daily Mail leaned into the drama, highlighting her tears and the fury over her use of her royal title in a gift basket for Lima, a move reportedly against the late Queen's wishes. People took a softer approach, emphasising the raw nature of the interview and Meghan's casual attire, but even they couldn't resist noting the strategic questions about her future ambitions. Critics weren't kind to her broader podcast ventures either. The Express and the Daily Mail reported that Confessions of a Female Founder had already flopped, dropping out of Spotify's top 100 in the US and UK after just 3 episodes. Sources claimed that Meghan's team dialed all the big names, like Beyoncé and Taylor Swift, but no A-listers bit, leaving her with lesser-known guests. like Bumble's Whitney Wolfe Herd and her hairdresser Cardi Lee. A PR expert quoted in the Express even questioned her intelligence, suggesting the timing of her podcast releases was either strategically poor or accidentally incompetent. So Meghan's podcast interview is a small part of her post-royal strategy: control the narrative but make it look like vulnerability. Every tear, which we didn't see, every anecdote, every casual outfit choice is a brick in the edifice of her personal brand. She's not just selling jam or podcasts, she's selling Meghan, the woman who overcame royal oppression to live her truth. But the cracks are showing. Her inability to secure high-profile guests suggests the cooling of her Hollywood clout, not that she had any clout there at all. The critical reviews of her Netflix show and podcast indicate an audience growing weary of her relentless self-promotion, and the social media pylon reveals a public that sees through the artifice no matter how many tears she appears to shed. Her jabs at the royals, while cathartic for her base, risk alienating those who see them as petty. The use of her title in a gift basket, as the Daily Mail noted, undermines her claim of wanting to move beyond her royal past. And her focus on personal anecdotes, Harry's letter, her kids' emails, feels less like intimacy and more like a calculated bid to keep the public invested in her private life, a currency she's been trading on since Brexit. Meghan Markle's first podcast interview was not the soul-bearing triumph she likely hoped for. It was a performance, polished and predictable, designed to reinforce her image as a wronged but resilient figure. The tears were not real, but their timing was a bit too perfect. The royal digs were pointed, but they felt rehearsed. Social media saw through the facade, with ex-users like @unremarkable leading a chorus of eye-rolling disdain. News outlets, while more diplomatic, couldn't ignore the flop of her broader podcast venture, nor the controversy over her title usage. In the end, Meghan's interview reveals a woman trapped by her own narrative. She wants to be seen as authentic, but every move is choreographed. She craves validation, but the public's patience is thinning. As she continues to build her empire, one wonders how long she can sustain this high-wire act before the audience demands something truly unfiltered, or simply just changes the channel. So, this is part 1. I do have a part 2 on the way, so subscribe if you haven't already and ding the bell for alerts so that you will know when this second part is published. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.